Welcome to Swala Nyeti, the law podcast that pairs a layman and a lawyer to answer your legal questions of the day. Swala Nyeti is sponsored by the law firm of Kigwata and Company Advocates and is intended for educational purposes only.
Welcome to Swala Nyeti. This is episode 17 and you are joined here by the lawyer, aka Wakili, Harry Karanja, and a first of the month, Gashao Patrick. Welcome, Gashao.
Hi, Wakili. Do you know that now, I mean, if you didn't have this COVID thing, parents would be taking children back to school this month.
Oh yeah, today would be more or less opening day.
Yeah, today would be opening day.
How things have changed.
Yeah, how things change.
But you know what doesn't change?
What doesn't change, Wakili?
What doesn't change is that every day we answer new questions. So what's our question for today?
That doesn't change. As we had said in our last episode, this is our question today. Hello, we are writing to you today for your advice. Our names are Sam and Lily. We are a married couple living in a flat in Garissa. One of our neighbors is a government officer who lives with a very young wife. Every morning, when the man goes to work, the wife sits outside in the balcony crying. She doesn't speak English well, but refuses to say what's wrong. But at night, we hear her screaming as if they are fighting. We fear for her life, but our friends tell us not to interfere in other people's businesses. This has now been going on for the past 5 months, and we are getting worried. We heard that you can divorce someone if they beat you. Before we go speak with her, we need your advice on how we can help her divorce him.
All right, Gashao. So let me see if I understand this situation. It sounds like quite a sad situation. We have this couple who lives in a flat, and in this flat we have a very young wife, as they call her, of a government officer, and they suspect that at night the husband is physically abusing her because every morning she is outside crying, and they want to know whether they can help her by getting her divorced from him.
Yeah, and Wakili, I don't know whether you've lived in a place where there's cases of domestic violence, because for me, from my experience, the most alarming thing is when you see these two people again in the morning and you think, I don't know, she'll scream for help but they look happy. You almost feel like asking, are you okay? So I understand Sam and Lily, and I have always wondered, is there anything somebody can do about this?
Well, so is there anything someone can do what someone Lily wants to know is whether they can help divorce, whether they can somehow institute the process of divorce, because this lady seems that she's not in a position to. But look, I mean, divorce is a judicial process, yes, which can solve people who are unable to live together. But I think there could be a faster way to resolve this. You need to establish whether there might be a criminal complaint that can achieve this faster. Yeah, criminal. So, look, they have talked about the possibility that this or they say that this is a very young wife who can't speak English, and I just want to think that there's a possibility, this could be someone, child marriage, child bride, and you see this child bride, there are criminal consequences to marrying someone who is underage.
The minor.
Exactly. So I mean, if that was the case, then you might not even have to go all the way to divorce, because first of all, you can't marry a child. That marriage, you can't register a marriage of a child. That would be ultimately a void marriage.
Yeah, but what if they're just living together, no marriage?
Well, we still have a problem here, and we need to solve this problem. And as I said, if it's going to be a criminal complaint, okay, you might not be able to go under child marriage or under maybe under defilement, but what the law has done is that it's created an avenue for handling domestic violence. So there is a law which specifically deals with domestic violence, and it is something that they might want to consider looking at, or she might want to consider looking into.
So what can Sammy and Lily do? Can they represent the girl in court?
Okay, before you get to court, I mean, you need she has to show first there's domestic violence. You see, right now we're just assuming what's going on.
How do you prove there's domestic violence?
Now, the Domestic Violence Act is quite broad, and it's given so many different things that constitute domestic violence. In this case, of course, if you believe that she is underage, you can go under a child marriage or a forced marriage. Both of those would constitute domestic violence. But I think here it might be easier to go under emotional and psychological abuse. Someone who is crying every single day can only be doing that through some abuse of some sort. Or, I mean, this is just something I'm thinking. And if then you can show that there is psychological or physical abuse,
those are grounds to apply for divorce, more or less.
You're very keen on the divorce.
Yeah, very.
Look, a divorce is something that you might eventually get to, but the Domestic Violence Act also has things that it has which can help this young lady. And a good example is what is known as a protection order. So she can get a protection order, and as the name suggests, which can protect her as you now look into those circumstances of
Let me just clarify something, Wakili. Who can apply for the protection order?
Well, normally the person who is being abused is the one who applies for the protection.
So at the end of the day, Sammy and Lily still have to approach this lady.
We can get into something else that they can do, but I want to mention that the protection order, like I said, is a stopgap measure. You are doing this because someone's life is in danger or potentially in danger, and they've said that they fear for her life.
Yes.
So a protection order can prevent this person from abusing her. And the good thing is, it can work even if they are still living together. So you can still, you can get a protection order against your own husband, even if you're staying with him in the same house.
Okay. Interesting.
But I don't know if this is the approach that someone really wants to pursue. I mean, historically, it's always best if the person who is facing this domestic violence is not living in the same place.
So then, what do you do when he is beating her and you're just a neighbor?
Okay, assuming that he is beating her and you have gotten this protection order, or even before you get the protection order, you might consider providing some alternative housing. So Sam and Lily, they could, help her move in with them if they fear that her life is under threat. And of course, once they secure the protection order, then he will not also be able to come and threaten
that's what
her.
I was thinking. If you take somebody's wife, he could come to your house and think, what are you doing? Bring my wife.
Well, yeah. So the good thing is a protection order can prevent that, so that he doesn't come and now says, you've taken my wife. And that really solves a lot of the problems that people have been having before.
Is that like a restraining order?
Yeah, exactly. So
wow.
It
but
works
in Kenya, it works.
We now have something in the Domestic Violence Protection Act.
Now, what if they are legally married?
Well, I mean, it doesn't make any difference, because whether they are boyfriend and girlfriend, whether they are husband and wife, if they're in a domestic relationship, meaning a relationship that shows they have some close connection, then you can still apply for this protection order.
And what if she doesn't accept? Because I think, anyway, does her input matter? Let me just put it that way.
So her input will matter if she is an adult, because you can't now go and force her to apply for this protection order if she doesn't want to.
Wow.
Remember, she, as someone who's an adult, has the ability to make their own decisions. But if she is underage, then one of the categories of people who are allowed to apply for a protection order on behalf of a victim of domestic abuse is actually a neighbor. So you can be your brother's keeper. As a good neighbor, you can actually go and apply for a protection order for someone who is underage and you believe is a victim of domestic abuse.
How long does this protection order take?
How long does it last? Or what do you mean?
No, to get one.
No, it's almost instantaneously. I mean, this is something that the courts will give priority. Of course, they usually give you a temporary order before they get the full circumstances. But you can get this pretty quickly because courts might even give you even outside of normal court hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what do you do about the divorce then?
Back there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if eventually they discover that there was a legal marriage, and then she can go through the same process of getting a divorce, according to the act. She can go under cruelty, which would be a ground for divorce. But remember, if she was underage, then the marriage is void, and there's no marriage to begin with.
So does that mean that the neighbor can apply for this divorce if she's overage?
Divorce. Marriage was your choice, and so is divorce.
Are you serious?
No one will force you to marry, and no one will force you to divorce.
So are you saying that whoever told Sammy and Lily to mind their own business was right?
Well, let me say this. I think they're really keenly interested in the welfare of this neighbor of theirs, and it's something I think which we need to try more in our society, to care about our fellow neighbors. Of course, they have to do it within the law. So the domestic violence, the act which dealing with domestic violence does create new and makes it easier for you to go to court about these things. And possibly they need to look at really what options exist for them to go under that domestic violence act.
So there you have it, Sammy and Lily. You can do something. It might sound like you can't do anything, but I think if you can determine that the girl is underage, you are under law, you can get a protection order for her immediately. That one works immediately. However, if she's overage, then it's up to her to decide whether or not she wants. Yeah. Sound defeatist, but you can do something about it. There you have it, Sammy and Lily. Thank you for listening to that episode 17 of Swala Nyeti. We have a question for episode 18 tomorrow, and the question is, if I marry a sugar mommy, can I divorce her and keep half the property? This is an ambitious young man. And to get the answer to that question, join us tomorrow for our next episode. And from me, goodbye.
Goodbye.
You have been listening to Swala Nyeti. Special thanks to our layman, Gashal Patrick, and our lawyer, Harry Karanja. If you have a legal question that you want answered, send us a WhatsApp message on 0708 111 222 or email us at admin@swalanyeti.org. You can find downloads to all our podcast episodes on our website www.swalanyeti.org.